Hey, so welcome to another episode of the Get More Students podcast. I'm Alex Asher, one of your co-hosts. I'm the CEO of LearnCube, a virtual classroom software made for tutors and for language teachers.
Hi, I'm Herbert Gerzer, founder of herbertgerzer.com, a digital advertising agency for education brands.
Now, I'm here in Berlin, so it's a different setting for me. Herbert, you're in same old home, which is great.
Same old
Uh,
Austria.
while we're at home, we're going to be talking about something very familiar, well, at least to you, Herbert, which is Facebook ads. Now, this episode is actually going to be on Facebook ads for beginners. We get a lot of questions about Facebook ads. Herbert and I are doing a lot of marketing strategy sessions and really trying to help tutors and language teachers and language schools and tutoring agencies and everyone in between to be able to improve their marketing. And as part of this, what often comes up is, Facebook is a major channel for us, or we see that as a major channel. How do we get started? How do we think about this? Herbert, I mean, again, if anyone hasn't heard of your experience, maybe it's a good time to mention why you're the person to be talking about this.
Of course. Well, I mean, for the past 3.5 years, I've been running a digital advertising agency where we help education businesses, language schools, online education providers get more leads and increase their direct enrollments through paid ad campaigns. And one of the main ways is through Facebook and Instagram ads. So it can be a very powerful channel to use for paid advertising. And yeah, excited to talk about it today and give you some foundational tips and strategies to get started with it.
Great. So get your notebooks out if you're listening in the car. Maybe just get out the mental notebook because there's going to be some really great ideas in this session. So the good thing is that I'm still fairly beginnerish when it comes to Facebook ads. So I'm going to try and put myself in the shoes of our listeners here. And this is particularly for people maybe that have never tried it. And we're going to talk to them, but we are also going to talk to those that at least have some understanding of Facebook ads and how they work, and then really try and layer up some better understanding and some structure and some ideas and tips for what to do next to be able to get to that next level of understanding. Does that make sense to you as well, Herbert?
Absolutely. I think that most established language schools, tutoring businesses, even solopreneurs have tested Facebook ads in the past, either themselves or maybe they hired a digital marketer or an agency, but possibly didn't get a lot of results and so have put it on the back burner, struggled to get quality leads or enrollments at a reasonable cost. So I know that you've heard about how other schools and other businesses are successfully using Facebook ads to grow. And so I guess the goal of today is to give you a framework and some strategies to launch your own Facebook ad campaigns.
Great. So if you have no knowledge, listen in for at least the next kind of couple of minutes. We're just going to let's get us up to square one. And otherwise, you're welcome to grab some tea if you've done this before. But Herbert, let's just quickly go through the difference between when people say Facebook, hey, I want to get leads through Facebook. I've heard as well people being, I post all the time and I don't get any leads from it. What should I do? And this is different to Facebook ads. And I know it's a basic question, but let's just really bring out what Facebook ads does for businesses.
Of course. I would say most businesses have a Facebook page. If you don't, please create one ASAP because you need a Facebook page in order to run Facebook ads. And they post quite regularly on Facebook, and they don't see much interaction or engagement on their Facebook posts. There's a reason for that. I mean, at the start, like maybe 3 years ago, Facebook engagement, Facebook pages were one of the main ways of generating more followers and getting leads for your business. But Facebook took a turn of business strategy and decided to decrease the engagement on organic Facebook posts in order to encourage businesses to spend money on the Facebook ads platform. So that's why you have probably seen your engagement rates drop significantly down to zero, basically, when you post on Facebook. And then kind of the next step, I think that a lot of businesses do is they boost posts, because whenever you post something on your Facebook page, Facebook make it so easy for you with that blue boost button on the right-hand side of the post. And you're like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. I'll just spend $5, $10, $20, boost the post to my target audience to get the word out. And in certain scenarios, boosting posts can make sense. But if you really are looking to generate leads and registrations for your courses and programs, you really need to use the main ads platform, which is called Business Manager. So that is it's separate. And you need to set it up differently to your Facebook page.
And just to be clear, with boosted posts, again, I know that way back when I used to do it almost just so I feel better, because Facebook helps me feel better if I want to feel like I'm getting more likes or that kind of thing. But is there the same analytics even on boosted posts?
No. Not at all. It's very, very limited as to the audiences that you can choose. I mean, you can choose and pick the demographics, but it's not as sophisticated as a Business Manager or running ads through Business Manager. And of course, the analytics as well.
That's what I was thinking.
Just all of the other settings on how to optimize your ad campaigns. So if you really want to get leads and enrollments, then you need to learn the basics of the Ads Manager platform within Business Manager.
Great. So to be clear, when we're talking about Facebook ads, we're talking about using Facebook Business Manager. We're not talking about business posts. We're not talking about posting and social media in general. We're purely talking about the use of ads managers. Excellent. Okay, correct. So we've got to square one. We've now got our business Facebook ads account. We've got our Facebook page. We're ready to go, and we look at the blank canvas and go, okay, what next? And why? Let's start off before. And I think this is a real trap. I'm noticing with a lot of, if you're a small business as well, you don't want to be draining cash without having a clear understanding of why you might want to spend any money at all with Facebook, because it's very good at taking your money and not necessarily that great at giving you leads. And if you don't understand how to use the insights, you might not realize that you're not getting leads that actually convert into paying customers, which is what you will need to be able to run your viable business.
Exactly. So kind of one of the most important steps before even kind of turning on an ad is making sure that everything is set up correctly. And that includes installing the Facebook pixel onto your website and creating the events that you want to be tracked on your website. For example, if you have a contact form or lead form, then you want to track that so you know when someone fills that in. And so you can track how many leads or contact forms you are generating through your campaigns. Of course, if you have, say, a shopping cart where people can register or purchase programs or lessons, then you also want to make sure that that is set up and also tracking the conversion value or the amount of the registration, again, so that you can even better track the return on investment of your Facebook campaigns. So making sure that your Facebook pixel is installed correctly on your whole website and tracking the most important events in your sales funnel. And that will most likely be purchases, registrations, contact forms, maybe a free trial, free demo, a level test, things like that.
Just so we can clarify that particular area on account setup, the pixel, do you want to just very briefly help people understand what that pixel is there a metaphor you can use for what that pixel is and what it does?
Sure. It's a piece of code that you install on your website that basically follows people around and
Yeah.
monitors what they are doing on your website, and which is very important because we want to know the behavior of these visitors who are coming to your website and what are they doing, which pages are they looking at, and that allows you to then analyze the data after your campaigns have been running and then optimize for whatever action people are taking on your website.
That's it. And then the events that you mentioned, if you've got your normal website, almost surely you're going to have some call to action. And
Absolutely.
whatever that call to action is, pretty much if I'm getting this right, and again, talking in simple language here, Herbert, if I click on, let's say the call to action is book a free trial. When I click that button, it takes me to another page in the website, which is great. Book your free trial. Now, what you can set that page up as one of those events. And then if I actually book, that'll take me to another page. Maybe it's a thank you page, which again will be another point where Facebook could say, hey, this event has actually happened, which is what you're going to need to feed some events back to Facebook to let Facebook know, hey, you're sending me the right kinds of traffic, not just the people that go to the homepage and then leave, but those kinds of people that actually stick around, book a free trial or whatever it is that your call to action
or
is.
fill in a contact form. So yeah, kind of one of the best practices is always to install or create events on the page after people actually book or do some certain action. So on the thank you page of your contact form, the thank you page of a free trial, a demo lesson, or on the summary of the order, for example, once they've paid or booked for a class or a lesson.
And the reason that is otherwise you'll be getting people at the front of that action, book a free trial, but not necessarily did they actually
going through with it.
The free trial.
Correct. I mean, so you definitely, I mean, you could track that if you wanted to, but then you'll have a lot of events that you're tracking. I mean, as I said, the most important ones are after someone books a free trial, fills in a contact or lead form. The only other one that you would probably want is, again, if you have some sort of a shopping cart or like a payment process, is when people add to cart. So they want to book, I don't know, an intensive course, and they go through then the first step where they have to fill in their details. And then maybe you could also add an event when they initiate checkout. So they enter the payment process before they actually pay. And then you can see what your conversion rate is, how many people initiate checkout and how many people actually paid. And again, that's a very good KPI to know about, because if you have a very small conversion rate from initiate checkout to actually paying, then okay, maybe there is something within that on that initiate checkout page that I need to optimize or adjust to make it easier, simpler, more understandable for people to pay.
Exactly right. Excellent. So we actually, just one thing on this, Herbert. If you're, let's say that you are trying to do this yourself, and I've been in this position myself, where you just feel a little bit overwhelmed. Now, what we're trying to do is also give you the language so that you can search for these like how-tos.
Yes.
Using YouTube, there's so much content out there, but basically, a lot of content, we want you to know. Yes, there's a thing called pixel. There's going to be a video that tells you how to put that pixel in. There's going to be a video that tells you to do tracking.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a video on how to create events. So don't freak out if this feels overwhelming. Each of these can be solved, and there's really good videos that give you a very visual overview of how to do this. You would just go to YouTube, I'm assuming, as well, Herbert, or do you have?
I would just go to YouTube. There are so many excellent videos, tutorial videos on how to set up your business manager account properly, how to add people to it. If you have a team, how to set up your ads manager, the payment, of course, connecting that, how to set up your pixel and the tracking events. So these are all kind of mini tutorials, so to say, that you can dive deeper into when the time comes.
So with that in mind, we've now got our account set up. Is there anything more about the setup that you want to discuss at this moment?
I mean, there are a couple of things that you also need to do. You need to verify your domain. Again, just you can Google that or YouTube that. That's very easy to do. And you also need to verify the events that you set up and connect it to your domain. Sounds very complicated. Those are kind of two steps that you need to do before you start launching the ads. But yes, verify the domain and verify the events that you set up.
So you've now got pixels, you've got your verifications done. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we on
Correct.
to setting up the structure of...
Exactly.
Okay, so
Of
tell
the
us
campaigns.
about this. Okay.
So we basically have kind of three levels to Facebook ad campaigns. We have the campaign level, which is where you choose your objective and also you set you set the budget. When you first go in and create a campaign, you will get bombarded with about 11 or 12 choices in terms of what your objective is, whether that be reach, awareness, lead generation, conversion, video views, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very difficult. This is kind of the first stepping stone and also the first obstacle because there are too many options to choose from. And you would think, brand awareness, that's exactly what I want, right? I want more people to know about my education brand. But again, it can be easily, you can easily be fooled by the options that Facebook gives you. So my best practice here, which applies to 95% of all language schools, tutoring businesses, education companies, is that you want people to take a certain action in your campaigns. Again, you want them to fill out a lead or a contact form. You want them to sign up for a free trial or a demo. You want them to purchase. And you want them, and that's why you should always set up a conversion campaign. And so when you choose the objective, you want the conversion objective because Facebook will then optimize and show people your ads to people who are more likely to take that action that you want them to take.
Yeah. So, I mean, this also helps you differentiate and help train Facebook, not just to send you to people that like your image. Like maybe you've got a little dog that you're cuddling on the front of your ad. There might be lots of dog lovers, but they might not be converting into customers. And that's the difference about why you need to be very clear on that objective.
Exactly. So once you've chosen your objective and your budget, and of course, we can go into a whole spiel about, what your budget should be, how much you should spend on different campaigns. But yeah, that's the campaign level. The second level is the ad set level. And this is where you select your target audience, your schedule, the bids, and the type of placement. So where you want your ads to be shown. Just on the Facebook newsfeed, only on Instagram, or everything, for example.
And again,
so this is also...
I really liked how you were like, hey, look, I'm going to tell you the options, but 95% of people start with a conversion event. I also, maybe we can do the same thing here with the ad set. What would you sort of say 90% of language and tutoring businesses will want for that?
I would keep everything to the default settings in the first instance. And then once you have some feedback on your campaigns, then you can kind of drill down and dial it in. But I would keep the schedule open. So I wouldn't have an end date, so to say, because the whole, unless of course you are promoting a promotion or a discount with a specific end date, I would not have an end date to your campaign because you want it to generate leads and conversions for you indefinitely.
Exactly.
And you can always turn it off if it stops working. So no end date. Keep the bids default, and also the placements. I would choose all placements. So to show it on all of Facebook, all of Instagram, and all of the other networks that Facebook has. Now, when it comes to target audience, that's the biggest variable, right? Because obviously it depends a lot on your target audience, your target group. And I assume that you would have already created a buyer persona or an ideal client avatar on who your dream customer or student is, their age, gender, interests, location, and then you can choose that here at this level. There is a place where you can create audiences. You don't necessarily need to do it in this campaign. You can go to audiences in the settings and create all of the separate audiences you need for your campaign. And it's a better structure and a better way to do that rather than in the ads manager itself. Maybe just one little note on a best practice with audiences for cold traffic audiences. So this is for audiences who have never heard about you before. So let's say you are targeting, you're an English school, you want to target the Latin American audience interested in English programs in Canada, then you would want to choose, those countries that you would like to target, the age, and then choose specific interests that would be related to your courses. Maybe that's English interests, moving abroad, moving to Canada, universities in Canada, things like that. And you want to keep the audience size relatively large. Especially with the changes that have gone on with Facebook, we want to give the algorithm as much room for finding your perfect customer as possible. So keeping audiences 1 to 3 million is ideal. Now, obviously, if you are in a local region, if you're in a city and that's all, you have a defined geographical limit, then you would just keep the audience targeting as open as possible. And so target basically everyone in your town or in your city. Those are the best practices.
Now I'm going to chime in here because I had this exact experience myself where I thought I was getting clever by reducing the target audience, and it was about 400,000, I think, and I was playing with some different ages and some different demographics. Yeah, because I was like, no, but the kinds of people that are converting are these kinds of people. Sure. And that was true, but somehow in the textbook of Facebook, they basically, in a way, they punished me because the experiment was very clear. When we had an audience above 1 million, we had much better conversion rates. All of the KPIs, all of the numbers were better compared to what I thought would be much better in terms of saying, hey, why would we waste time and money on people that I don't feel are going to be fitting? Maybe it's an age range that I don't think fits. But
and have
so
it
that's
highly targeted, highly specific.
And so that's my confirmation and my own experience of your of this best practice tip. Thanks for that, Herbert.
Yeah, no worries. You've set the audiences, you set the schedule, and then the third level is the ads level, which is where you actually have the ads that are being shown to your target audience. Here you can choose the format, whether it's an image, a video, a carousel ad. You put in your ad copy, the headline, and you choose the URL that you send them to, and also the call to action, whether that be learn more or book now, etc.
Now, again, there's probably for most people, we've definitely talked about in the past, the idea of video, and there's lots of other things that you can do that will optimize things. But if you're just getting started, don't freak out. Just simply have, in my view, Herbert, and maybe you can confirm this if you disagree, but just having a really great visual static image as your first go, and then build up your experience and try some different things on top of that. But you want one thing that really works for you. Maybe some other kind of tips about what are the attributes of that image, Herbert?
Sure. Again, it depends on your business, but generally, authentic images of real teachers, real students, or say if the owner is the face of the business, then that can work as well. I would try and stay away from stock images that you can download or buy or from the internet, just because then they look like ads. And so the goal is to interrupt people and get them to stop scrolling when they're on Facebook or Instagram. And if it looks like an ad, then usually they will, keep on scrolling. So we want to look like a post from a friend. And that's why we try to use authentic images of real people. And they don't even have to be highly edited and perfect. Blurry images, funny images can work just as well.
Yeah. So these are some, and again, we've got previous episodes in the Get More Students podcast where we do talk about these different techniques. But this is really helpful. So we've got easy structure, campaign level, ad set level, ads level. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the actual delivery of ads in this section, but I think we do want to clarify what are the outcomes. And when we're saying KPIs, maybe again, we'll just clarify what we mean by how do we define success? And then how do you know if Facebook is working for you or you're just donating to the Facebook cause?
Exactly. So, we want to analyze via hard data, and you need to understand the KPIs or key performance indicators. And you will find these on your Facebook Ads Manager under the column section, and you can define the KPIs that are relevant to you. The most important ones that will probably be relevant to most people will be things like your reach. So the number of people who actually see your ad, impressions, the number of times your ad is displayed, no matter if it was clicked or not, the click-through rate, so the percentage of people who click your ad in comparison to the percentage that view it, so impressions. Of course, then you have the number of clicks, which is also important. How many people actually go to visit your website? Yeah. The cost per lead, if you are tracking that. So the cost per contact inquiry, the cost per lead form, the cost per book a free demo.
I think they use result there. Is that what you're talking about? Is it like the actual conversion rate, effectively, cost per conversion?
Correct. Yeah, that you can use result, but if you have like multiple events on your website, then people might not actually do the action that you set out for them to do. For example, if you optimize your campaign for a contact inquiry and you want contact inquiries, someone might actually kind of bypass that and go straight to the purchase. And so you want to actually be tracking all of the events that you set up and not just the one that you've optimized for, because you might actually get conversions, other conversions from the ads. And so you really want the full picture.
Great.
Yeah. And of course, your return on ad spend. So if you are tracking the purchases or registrations and the dollar amount, then you will be able to know your ROAS or return on ad spend, which is the ratio of the conversions value divided by your ad spend.
I mean, basically, if you're not earning more than you're paying, it gets a little bit tricky. There are different ways that you can look at it, though. So you can also look at the lifetime value of your customer rather than just simply, did they purchase, if they only buy, let's say they only purchase one tutoring session with you. That doesn't mean that it's a negative return on investment, as long as you actually have a really high conversion on when somebody does one lesson with you, that they actually stay with you for a very long time. And then you might see, hey, as I know that 50% of people that do even one session with me stay on for 20 sessions. And then suddenly your return is actually much, much higher than maybe is on the surface. Now, again, sometimes I actually want to be fairly kind of clear here. It's you don't want to just rely on good feelings and busyness. If you're a small business, it's going to really drain all of your resources if you're not really clear that what you're spending is getting you a good result. Because again, I've been in there and I've spent lots of money and felt like I haven't quite got the return that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, numbers don't lie. So, and that's why it's so crucial to know your numbers and know what your customer lifetime value is, because then you know how much you can spend in order to acquire that customer. And as you said, Alex, on the front end, that the first purchase conversion, the first enrollment might only be $100, but if it's a monthly thing, and people stay on usually for an average of 6 months, and they're really worth $600. And then you have to figure out, okay, what is the percentage I'm willing to spend of that $600 to acquire that customer? Maybe it's 10%, 15 or 20%. And then all right, I can spend $120 to acquire that customer. And then that's your limit of your cost per acquisition. And then it's very easy to work backwards from that.
Yeah. Very good tips. Now, we're going to probably finish up fairly soon just because what we wanted to do is, this is just about getting you started, getting you set up, and you've set everything up now. You've got some ads going. Now you've got to wait, and I think this is where we'll kind of finish, is maybe what should our approach be to starting with these ads, and when do we go back and look at these KPIs to be able to judge, is this working for me or not? Because also we don't want to be too preemptive and say, I put $50 down, nothing came back. This is clearly a waste of my time. If your budget's very low, then Facebook ads just may not be the right channel for you alone. Just simply you wouldn't have enough budget to be able to get enough traffic to be able to make that work. But if you're doing it and making a preemptive decision without really letting it go for long enough, then it can also, give you a false result. So,
exactly.
Why don't you tell us about how to approach your first campaigns, how to think about it? People always ask us, what's the minimum budget? And we've actually had a bit of an analytical conversation about this before, Herbert, and just talked about the simple fact of how many people you would have needed to have seen or clicked or done the event to be able to know, yes, this is going to work or not. And we have a rough idea of what that would cost. So we do have some rough budgets.
We do. And so for a cold traffic campaign, so reaching out to people who have never heard about you before, again, we want the audience size above 1 million. You want to be spending at least $10, €10, £10 a day on that one campaign, on that one ad set, really. And you want to let it run without touching it for a week.
Yeah.
And I know the people just love to, especially if it's your
I've
first
done
time
this
running
before,
ads.
by the way.
You get going excited in after 12 hours, having a look. Oh no, it's not working. It's not getting any clicks. And then you go in and edit and change something and fiddle around with it constantly. Over the next 3-4 days because you want it to perform. But that's if you do that, then you may as well just start from scratch because you have messed up with the algorithm, and you're not giving the algorithm time to find the right conditions. So you want to launch your ad, obviously make sure that everything is set up correctly, and do not touch it for 7 days.
So that's it. Launch an ad.
Launch an ad. Let it run for 7 days. Go in on the 7th day and have a look at the KPIs. We've listed some of the most important ones, and do they fall within your acceptable range, which you would have set for yourself? How much are you willing to spend for per lead or per contact inquiry or per demo, per registration, and then go from there.
Yeah, and they may not be perfect, but are they showing signs of promise, right?
Yes, exactly. If you are starting with a retargeting campaign, which is what I would suggest for everyone to do, even beginners, because we are targeting people who have already visited your website, who are following you on Instagram, on Facebook, or maybe even your newsletter subscribers, so they know about you and are more likely to purchase or convert. you can start a retargeting campaign for as little as a couple of dollars, a couple of euros a day, just because we are targeting a finite amount of people, and more quickly you will be able to see whether or not that is working.
So we're not going to talk on retargeting in detail today, but again,
No.
we want to give you the language and the ideas to be able to look on YouTube and find your own answers as well. But I think this is a good place to finish at the moment, Herbert. I hope that we've been able to deliver what we said on the tin, which is provide some real insight and some overview for beginners starting out with Facebook ads, starting with the account, your setup, setting up your structure in those 3 levels: the campaign level, ad set level, and the ads level. We've talked about the key performance indicators so that you know whether something's working. And I think you've given some really great tips on how to launch your first campaign, and don't touch it for 7 days.
Don't touch it, no. And in the next one of the next podcast episodes, hope to build on these foundations and get into some more strategies.
That sounds great. So if you're wanting to learn more about Herbert, you can find him at your website, Herbert, which is
herbertgozo.com.
And if you're interested in how you might be able to expand and grow your tutoring or language business with software, you can find us at learncube.com. We offer a virtual classroom and an online school, or basically a total online tutoring platform for you to be able to run your business with. So if you're interested in that as well, www.learncube.com, and we have a free trial there that you can check out. But this is the end of this episode. So thanks again. Please subscribe to the podcast. Regardless of where you're at with your business, I feel that we can offer a lot of value, providing ideas and inspiration for tutoring and language businesses. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
See you in the next one.